In the years leading up to his death in 1973, at the age of 91, Pablo Picasso continued to work obsessively. Yet at that time, many of his late paintings were not received as enthusiastically as his earlier work. A new exhibition at the Gagosian Gallery in New York highlights this work and makes the case that the final years of Picasso's life constituted a great late phase. It includes 45 paintings and more than 50 prints, all dating from around 1962 to 1972. Joining me now to talk about this new exhibition, Bernard Ruiz Picasso, grandson of the late artist, John Richardson, the Picasso biographer and a curator of the show. I am very pleased to have both of them here at this table. What's the significance of it, this late phase and this collection and where they came from and all of that?
The significance is this, that nearly all great artists have always wanted a great late phase. I mean, Titian had a great late phase, Monet, Goya, Cézanne, they all had this great late phase, which tends to be reflective, meditative, and rather calm, serene. Picasso's idea of a great late phase was anything but calm and serene. It was volcanic. And after an operation he had in 1965-66, he sat down and never took another day off. In the past, he used to rest between bouts of intense work. From 1966 onwards, from the spring, he never really rested at all. He was either painting or drawing or completely different thing, doing prints, which we show in the show. And he, for months on end, he had his printers come down from Paris, set up their printing press and so on, and he worked away at that. And it constitutes an incredible period of work. I mean, he had to build on, what, 2 studios to the house on top of Notre Dame de Vie?
Yes, that's right.
Well, you can look at you and certainly see your grandfather, or vice versa.
Well,
I can, yes.
Okay, thank you, John.
So what was it like at this time for him? I mean, why was he so obsessed and maniacal about working every day?
I think John and also many other scholars just describe very, very nicely and perfectly how was Picasso's fight against death. And so time was running, and as John just said, he was just working. So he kept more isolated in Notre Dame de Vie, and he was keeping working. I was very young, and I was going very often to Notre Dame de Vie with my father and mother to visit him, and it's true, he was giving time for his family, for his friends, a few friends who were left or still alive, which was also a problem. I can remember my father announcing to his father, to Picasso, well, Picasso was asking, how is feeling my friend? And my father was, he just died, and etc., etc. So for Picasso, many things were involved, and I think it's what bring him to create almost non-stop, meaning he was working day and night.
Yeah. Your mother was?
Christine, which is not part of the family. She married my father, Paul, which is the oldest Picasso son.
All right. The eyes. The eyes.
Mirada fuerte, the strong gaze.
Yes.
Which he used like a magician. I mean, he used like a real real Southern Spaniard, where the Southern Spaniards see the eye almost as a sexual organ. I mean, you can use it. You can have people with your eyes. Picasso used to say that.
You can have people with your eyes.
Have people with your eyes. He said to Francois Gillot once, I think you should cover yourself completely in black so that men can't have you with their eyes. And his eyes, I mean, and in these late works, almost all of the figures, or many of the figures, have Picasso's eyes. And to that extent are self-portraits. And you feel the magic from these eyes. I mean, you feel this incredible strength. And that he could have people with his eyes.
Yeah, but with these eyes that were fearful of death?
The eyes... It was very odd. Towards the end of his life, Picasso had always been so frightened of death that you could never mention his will to him, because anything that involved in his death was forbidden. I remember having lunch there one day in the studio, we had a little plop, and it was a canary falling dead in its cage. Picasso didn't hear it, he was rather deaf. Jacqueline, his wife, goes behind him, takes the cage down, takes it to the kitchen, sends the driver into Cannes to get another little bird, and by the end of lunch, the new bird was back in place. And I remember about a few weeks later, Picasso saying to somebody, "Yes, these are my birds. They're immortal."
The collection comes from family?
Yes, I mean, most of it comes from Bernard.
Yes, but part of it, it's to try to make it short. I inherited a very important collection, and I dedicate most of my time.
An important collection.
Yes, and so we did together with my mother also Picasso Museum in Malaga, and I'm working every single day, loaning works and organizing exhibition in various countries. So I dedicate most of my time to that, and when that project arrived, and when we start discussing of doing such an exhibition, of course, as the intellectual level and quality of writing of John and our friendship, all that made possible that I agree to loan an important group of painting to this exhibition. And then other collectors and family members did accept also to collaborate. And it's what will make the magic of this show and demonstrate how alive. I mean, you will see how nice.
Okay, we're going to take a look at them in just a moment. But the response to these late paintings was what? At the time?
At the time, the response was very negative. And what you have to bear in mind, abstraction had taken over. Picasso loathed abstraction. I mean, he fought it. There are paintings of his which veer on abstraction, but there's always some kind of figurative reference in them. I mean, you know that it's a still life and not a landscape. And his work, in a way, went out of fashion's the wrong word, but, I mean, what the young artists wanted was abstraction. They wanted Jackson Pollock, they wanted Rothko, they wanted all that kind of thing, and Picasso was not prepared to give that. He'd never painted an abstract painting, and he wanted to make his painting even more representational and figurative than it had been before. And so, I mean, he was going against fashion. And so people, the young, thought that this was a sort of backward step, whereas in fact it was an enormously forward step, this painting, this amazing volcanic sort of Picassification of the whole tradition of Western European art.
All right, let me take a look at some of the exhibition, some of the paintings here, and have you, all of you, comment on them. The first one is, John?
It's a portrait of Jacqueline,
yes,
of Picasso's wife at the time. And this is the earliest painting in the show, and it's included because we felt we had to establish Jacqueline as a character. I mean, as she was, she appears in disguise, she appears in lots of the later paintings, but here she is as Jacqueline Picasso.
And what influence did she have on him, Bernard?
Very, very important influence, because he did make his art and also his life around this new muse and model. I think it's very important to recall in all Picasso's period and different time of and different way of painting. He always use his model and wives to be his model, but also to explore really a vast domain of faces and body.
John and I've talked about this before. You could tell about his relationship with a particular woman based on the painting.
Yes, you could, indeed. And also you could tell that he's going to change, or the woman was changing. Yes. Because sometimes the woman has a brunette, one side blonde, the other, and one blue eye and one green eye. And Picasso said to me once, it must be so ghastly for a girl to see that she's being replaced. And you can follow it in his work. I mean,
All right, take a look at the second one.
It's the mouse and the cat. It's a pretty strange painting, because you have this nude woman body, which is not really Jacqueline, but with some parts recall Jacqueline, playing with a dead mouse in his hand, and the cat waiting for having lunch.
John?
Well, cats in Picasso's work are usually very predatory. I mean, they're not little pussycats. I mean, they're like that. And this is what really is happening in this painting. And it isn't Jacqueline, as you say, but it looks like Jacqueline. It's got her dark hair. Yeah. And all the women, really, in these late paintings tend to be Jacqueline. And some of them are really got waving their legs in the air and behaving in a most sort of unseemly way. But Picasso also did Jacqueline's, did her as the Queen of Spain on a horse, or as the Madonna. And so I don't think any of these characterizations to be taken too seriously. I mean, I think he turned her, it's like having a wonderful actress in the house. She could take on any role.
Yeah. He intended to shock.
I don't know.
Or not.
He couldn't help shocking. Yeah. I think it's more.
In other words, it wasn't intended to. It's just it was in his DNA.
Nature. Yes.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, it's what shows the cubism. I mean, from the beginning of his career, he have always repeated the same energy in not doing exactly what people were expecting. I think it's very strong in his career.
That's part of his greatness.
Yes, it is. And I mean, he shocked with these late paintings. I mean, people were shocked by them, yeah. But they didn't realize why they were being shocked by them. I think they felt that they were shocked because they weren't sort of what everybody else was, the abstract paintings that had been accepted as modernism, and that he was one jump ahead.
All right, next slide is the portrait of the man at Le Fleur.
I believe this is one of the most important painting in this large series, because I don't remember how many late painting Picasso did, but few hundreds. And this one is really a key to understand what he was doing, because it's a very famous painting called The Dwarf, made by Greco, I am right? Velasquez. Yes. And it's almost an interpretation of that famous Velasquez painting, The Dwarf. But he introduced some very interesting elements from the late 60s, because we have to recall what was that time in late 60, yeah. 68, 69 in Europe, in America. And I think you can see those flowers on his hair and flowers also in his rifle. So I think in his sword, I think it's very, very important painting.
A lot of this period had references by Picasso to old masters, whether it's Rembrandt, yes, or Goya or Velasquez.
Mm-hmm. Well, this one is one of the closest. This, by the way, is one of the most beautiful paintings in Bernard's amazing collection. I mean, it's
how many paintings in your collection?
Quite many. That keep me busy. Well, but no.
And it is an absolutely staggering painting, and it's painted in this rather Van Gogh-like way, with great intensity and vigor.
Right.
And that's what's amazing about these late pictures, is the strength, I mean, the energy they seem to sort of fill the galleries with.
Give me a sense of the way he worked.
Well, I think a lot of these paintings are enormous. You have to remember that Picasso is quite a very short man, and he seemed to get a bit shorter in age.
4?
4, I should think, yes. And in old age, I mean, he got a bit smaller. These paintings, some of them are 7 foot, 7'6". I mean, they're huge. And here you have, I mean, we're coming to one in a minute, The Three Ages of Man, where he did, in fact, 6 paintings in less than a week. And this is a few days before his 90th birthday. And these enormous paintings, I don't think he stood on a chair or stood on a stool or ladder or anything. I think what he did was he put them down on a flat on a table, and he worked at them that way. At least this is what as the witnesses say.
All right. The next one is the Matador. Yes?
That's another of Bernard's masterpieces. I think it's one of the most amazing paintings in the show.
Now, where are these when they're not on exhibition? Where are they hanging?
They are mostly alone in exhibition or sometimes too.
Which is your favorite?
There is
no favorite.
I think when you're working in such a domain every day, I'm proud to keep changing my mind quite often, but it's through this specific painting as a torero as well as a type of vanity, because it's you can feel death in this portrait, but it's a dead portrait, but it's alive and it's
you can see that
it's tragic and beautiful. That makes this painting very beautiful.
And it's a likeness of Picasso. I mean, it's a self-portrait, outstaring death.
Outstaring death.
Yeah.
Saying, not yet.
Or I can't use the word on
Does the word begin with an F?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the next one. This is 1970 now. This is one of your favorites, John?
This painting, yes, it is. It perhaps is my favorite.
A 1970 painting of a black-faced figure in red costume with one eye oddly outlined in red.
But this painting scares me. The power of it is terrifying. If you look at it, I mean, it's really menacing, and I want to make some kind of sign against the power of it, because it's a very, very black painting. Again, it's a painting about death. Again, it's a self-portrait. But it's absolutely haunting. And after spending, whatever it is, 4 or 5 days hanging the show, I mean, this one haunts me more than anything else. And it's very spooky. It's very powerful and very beautiful.
Tell me what this is.
This is a young boy on the beach, and it's a very amazing painting, and the body transformation. It's very important in that painting. Also, you can note if you want to look at the bottom at the sand of the beach, that the sky is also yellow, and you can see the sea in between the blue lines. So this painting is a very strange one, I think, John. It's also part of this long tradition in Picasso's work to exorcise some of his thoughts, something very interesting to read in this painting.
Well, was painted just before his 90th birthday, and there were these series of great paintings, and they were done, I mean, in a space of little more than a week. Huge paintings. And I started looking at them and suddenly realized that the idea behind them was this Renaissance theme of the Three Ages of Man. Titian did the Three Ages of Man. Great many Renaissance painters did the Three Ages of Man. So here he is, as a kid on the beach in Malaga with a stick, drawing in the sand. The next one, middle-aged guy with a stick, and so on. Ultimately, we couldn't get there's a fourth or fifth one in which he turns into a very, very old man and sort of crumpled with a very strong girl behind him, sort of holding him up.
All right.
And
did he, mentioning the references in all of this, Titian and the Three Ages of Man, and we're seeing the first one, we have two others. Picasso put himself where as a painter? I mean, did he compare himself with whoever he considered to be the greatest painter of all time?
I don't think so. I think he saw himself as the greatest painter of all time.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
I think that also what I think he wanted to do at the end of his life was to Picassify the whole tradition of Western figurative art. And I think so. That's why he gets all these different painters, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, and somehow melds them together in these amazing images, and Picassifies them.
Making them into Picasso.
They make them into and summing them up, but not belittling them. But somehow making them modern. I mean, making them 20th century paintings.
Making them into his own.
And also, I think, taking them out of the museums, taking them off the museum walls, and turning them into something live.
Mm-hmm. You want to add to that?
Yes, that maybe is one possibility, and I really believe it's quite true. All this late period, it's a very important gift to the next generation. Meaning, he was old at that time in the late 60s and 70s, meaning we all know what was about that time in Europe, in America, and he was very interested by television, by newspaper, by his image, and he was looking and watching a lot television, so he had all those information of the late 60s, and is what he give to the new generation is very important. Even if he knew it was a lot of abstract artists, and the art at that time was very different from what he was doing. But he really, I think it's most important gift in his career for the next generation, the next artists, because art, as John said before, from the past centuries, just are taking. People pick things, elements, and to recreate and to repaint and rewrite the history of art.
Picasso, with these paintings, joins the ranks of those who had a late phase.
A great late phase.
A great late phase.
Yes.
But not seen that way by his contemporaries at the time.
Or by very few of them. A few of them saw it, but a great many didn't.
Right.
But now I think that he will be, people will accept this great late phase as being a huge, wonderful, volcanic end to his life.
What is the title of this exhibit?
It's called the Mosqueteros.
Mosqueteros.
And the Mosqueteros doesn't just mean musketeers.
Right.
There's a second meaning of Mosqueteros, and that is that in the late 18th, early 19th century in Spanish theatres, at the back, they were sort of open to the streets. And at the back, people didn't have to pay. They were pickpockets and prostitutes and lunatics and soldiers and so on. And those were mosqueteros. And so it's a sort of word which covers a whole mass of the rabble, really.
He liked to watch the movie The Three Musketeers?
He loved watching movies. He was a great movie buff. And there were a whole series of Three Musketeer movies in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
This exhibition is on view at the Gagosian Gallery in New York. It'll be there from Thursday, March 26th, as we tape this show, till Saturday, June 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a title for the last book?
Not yet.
Not yet. Thank you, Bernard. Pleasure to meet you.
Volume 4.
And congratulations for you, for putting all these paintings so that the rest of us could see them.
Thank you very much.